Hey guys, this is Ashley and Ress, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. And today we're talking about when you're too self aware to be toxic, but still too triggered to be healthy. The messy middle stage of growth that no one talks about.
Yeah, so today's episode is dedicated to all of us who have read all the books, have gone to therapy, that did the shadow work, that have the podcast, you did the things, and still find that sometimes you still have a full-blown spiral after a text with no emoji. So when we're talking about being in messy middle stage, we're basically talking about like when you know you're not the old version of you, like there is definitely a difference in who you are. You don't respond the same. You know your triggers. You actively avoid certain things. Like there has been a change, but it still don't mean you don't pop off every now and then. It still don't mean you don't shut down when you get overwhelmed. It still don't mean that sometimes you get a little mad and do the silent treatment or feel the need to self-isolate. This is basically personal growth purgatory. Ashley, what has been your experience with this?
I'm thinking about the fact that, right, like you're right, this is just not an area that's talked about that much. Like when I saw the topic, I was like, that is a great area. And I started trying to reflect and think about like, because I consider myself pretty far along in in the self-discovery healing journey.
Uh,
However, it is an ongoing journey, like,
yes.
in different life phases, I think put you in different spaces and stuff. So in some areas I may be more advanced, in other areas I might be in that middle. I'm a lot more in that middle ground. Cause it's a newer thing.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I'm thinking about like I feel like in this stage, or at least the way I'm thinking of it, and I know it looks for me, is more like I might have that crash out moment, but it might be to a friend, a love. By the time other people see it, it's
Mhm.
fine, and it's not a
Yeah.
crash out. I've thought about it. Da, da, da. Like I have learned to not react to everything up front. I have learned to take time to all of these
Mhm.
different things. Like that's a part of like learning and being self-aware and like not allowing your feelings and emotions to get dragged all over the place by like just things happening
Mhm.
in life. And not being like in a controlled stoic way, but just in general, like I'm not gonna get riled up just because
Yeah.
people are dumb.
Mhm.
But then but yeah, but you might take a minute to have that time, have that crash out, and then maybe, like, circle back later on to, like, apply the skills that you've learned to like, the highest level and I don't know, I'm throwing her out there, not that she's, I don't know that lady life is my point, but
Okay.
I'm thinking about Tabitha Brown when, Wendy Williams, the po
Oh, I am not there. Like,
right.
I am not acceptable on
Where
here.
she was just like, "Oh, I hope you as blessed as me, baby," and just kinda passed it along, and it was so smooth and it was so cool, and I was like, "Yeah, but no, I know that's not me. I can get there, but it takes work to get there. I have to, like, really dig into that empathy to be like, how can I try to look at this in a different, more positive light?
Word.
Check on my Tabby Brown." But that's how I think of yeah, that spectrum between, like it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
the things may still trigger me, but definitely the way that the response is completely different and how long I may be allowed to be impacted by something that triggers me, like, has definitely dwindled.
Yeah. I mean, and I like that you brought up that, like, sometimes it's not even that it's not I'm not healed in this it's not that, like, I'm not healed as a whole, it's that there's parts. And so sometimes there's areas, like, you just got it down, like, you cannot I'm good on this part. I'm so good, I'm so chill.
Mhm.
And then you have these other areas of your life where you're like, yeah, don't test me too much there. And we're still working. I still have instant reactions that,
Mhm.
I might later regret. But and I think like one of the things I feel like I hear all the time when people are trying to change, when people are trying to do different, when they're trying to go on their healing journey, I've worked with a lot of people who, we would have so much work and so much progress, and then they just crash out. something happens, and usually it's something valid, if I'm being honest. If
Mm,
something valid happens, they crash out and they're like, well, there goes all 2 years of my healing. I guess I really
mhm,
don't got it. And I'm an imposter. And it's like, no, baby, no.
mhm.
Healing is a continual process. And also, like, sometimes there's just certain areas, there's certain blind spots that you just don't know until you have that crash out, until you think comes about. I know the areas that I'm currently still working on are things I did not know about myself until last year.
Mhm,
Like,
mm,
there was just blind spots I had,
mhm.
um, that I just did not recognize until last year because I had a situation happen and I realized how I was responding to that. And I was like, oh, that is a thing for you. Why is that a thing? We need
Mhm,
to work on that thing.
mhm.
And so it's okay to like just have that area where it's like, all right, well, I'm not a killer, but don't push me. It's okay to still be in that area. And I think for most of us, you're gonna have places where there's just a gray area, and it does not mean you're not healing. It doesn't mean you aren't making progress.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Because it's definitely a spectrum, and even allowing yourself to be I think, well, one thing life is gonna happen, things are gonna happen to you, but
Mm,
I think being open to learning from experience and that vulnerableness that comes with that is also a part of the healing journey. So the
yeah,
willingness to have those types of experiences and the willingness to slow down and process those types of things is also a sign that you're healing. Because like the fact you brought
mhm,
up, like, yeah, like you're still healing even if you
mhm.
have a moment here and there.
Yeah,
So don't throw away all of your progress because there may be other signs. Like I said, it may be like, man, I spiraled, whew, but not for the whole day. It was
yeah,
only, I did my 10 minutes. I moved on. I journaled. I used a coping skill. And then I
mhm,
went on about my day. Cause that's real. Whew. I mean, like I'm the phase of life that I'm in right now, I am so grateful for the years that I took and kinda sat down and, like, focused on because I know, like, it's still challenging, but I
mhm.
know I would have been just, whoo, ooh, I would have been an anxious mess
Mhm,
today if I hadn't done some of the work I did previously. It doesn't make
yeah,
this any part like that it's not challenging, but like I feel more equipped to handle it because I'm not spiraling into doom all the time. I'm
yeah,
not freezing up from just being overwhelmed and not
yeah,
doing anything. Like I'm not doing those types of things. I'm not exerting unnecessary energy, spinning thoughts. It's not to say it never, but it's not at all like it was. So it's like I the newest part of my life is being a parent. So of course there's anxieties that come with having a baby around and things like that. But even that area, it's like I can handle it a lot better
yeah.
because of work that I've done years ago or in other areas of my life. So that it's like it's a good feeling. It's good to recognize like, whew, because even though, like I said, even though there are those days, it still is like, you know what? It ain't like it could have been because
Look, I know for me, like, one of the areas I am still, like, in that gray area is like, barely. I barely made it into the gray. Like, we outside the gray, if I'm being 100% honest. But it's like, I have always struggled with forgiveness. Like, I'm not a forgiving person at all. Like, I'm just not. Like, you know what the fuck
Mhm,
you did. You did that shit. You actively did that shit. And I'm not a person that it's not easy for me to be like, you know what? But you were going through something and you were struggling. And you
mhm,
didn't mean to hurt me. Fuck that shit. I am praying on your downfall. So that is the area like I struggle with. And I've gotten to a point though, like it doesn't, and I think this is why I struggle so much though. Even when I'm like that, even when I struggle with like forgiving someone, it doesn't consume me.
mhm.
Because I think that's why it was always been hard for me. Cause I was like, if not forgiving them ain't messing up my life. I ain't thinking about them. Once the thing happened, yes, I
Mhm,
am like death and destruction. And
mhm,
then I kind of go about my way. And then when karma
mhm,
finally hits you, I'm laughing. Like that's as far as the shit typically goes. And so it's like still be in that middle part. It can be really, really hard for me to be in that middle part. And I think it's because I have a mother who is so extremely forgiving.
Mm.
And I've just seen people take so much advantage of that.
Mhm.
And you can't tell her about it. You can't tell her about it. And it just seeing the after effects of people like taking advantage of her in my childhood, taking advantage of her kindness even in my adulthood, like it really did something like it did something to my psyche. I've said this before, like I have a brother who died, who was shot, and she went to the jail and forgave his killer.
Ooh.
And
Mm.
then I was like, okay, now you on my list too, bro. Like everybody, you are now so on my forgiveness
Mhm.
list. But it's like I'm never gonna be that. I'm never gonna be that. I'm never gonna get to that level.
Mhm.
However, what I can do is recognize that, like, okay, now you are at a spot though where after you do that anger part, you might blow up, you might kind of have that, I can't believe they blah blah blah. You calm down and then you try to be like, but I'm at least going to release the thought.
Mm.
I'm at least going to release the thought. Now, if I'm reminded of it, do I still get angry? I'm like, oh yeah, you do that thing. I forgot I hate her. Yes, it still pops up. But it is like, I definitely feel like, okay, but there has been progress. And one of the things I particularly struggle with, I was talking to Nick. I talk to Nick about this all the time.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes I get like healing resentment,
Mm.
um, especially especially around forgiveness, actually,
Mhm.
because I know the way old me will handle things. And
Mhm.
every now and then I'll handle something different. And there's like a part of me that's like, oh, you
Mhm.
you could have, you know what you could have done, right?
Mhm.
Know that you could have, oh, they think they got away with it. Oh, yeah, you they think they got away with it. They think
Mhm.
you soft. Like I there's a part of like I had a situation happen
I need
recently.
to remind them.
I had something happen recently, like a couple months ago, like back in April, and I was mature about it.
Okay.
I spoke my piece in a very mature way. And
Right.
then was just like, and then you know what? We don't have to deal with this. We don't have to interact with each other. And I went on about my life and I was very mature. And there was like a part of me that was like, just reminisce on things I have done before. And I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
because they think they got away with that shit. And it's now July. And every now and then something reminds me. I haven't done it. Every
That's
now and then something reminds me of like, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. They're just out here, not you out here like it's so crazy because I used to really have a belief like, yeah, I believe in being people's lesson.
Mhm.
And it's really, really hard. And I'm not now. Mhm.
Look at
Let the
you.
universe let the universe handle it. Uh, but like, yeah, and sometimes I get really, really resentful. Again, like I had a situation happen in April, and I was like, because I'm healed as shit, had to communicate, how to be an adult, and just let them know how I felt and how this situation presented itself, and then just let them walk away. Some bullshit.
It's so funny because, that's your experience, and then I know another person that is having the opposite, where they're learning, like, you don't always gotta be the bigger person, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? You don't always gotta be the one, because
Yeah.
sometimes you have moments of, like, well, like you said, like, out the resentment is that, "I'm tired of being the damn bigger person, damn it." So what the but
Mhm.
yeah, my friend is going through that on the other side of realizing, like, everyone is not owed this. Everyone does not deserve this. And even just because you forgive them does not mean that they should still get to interact with you in the same way that they should still get to benefit from your company and anything
Mhm.
else that they were getting from you. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Cut them off. It's okay. You will be better for it. So it's like you're on that side, and I hear this other side.
Yeah, no, that has never been my practice. Never,
No one ever
I've
said, "Damn
never
it,
had a problem being selective about when I need to be the bigger person.
she is too forgiving." That's funny.
And it's not gonna be a thing. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be 90 and I'll be like, I'm still working on that area. It's okay. It's okay. Also, I think sometimes and I'm gonna get back to the main subject at hand, but I also think sometimes the issue when you have some resentment, because you can have resentment when you're healing, is that
Mhm.
sometimes you recognize that that toxic behavior really actually saved you in certain situations. It
Mhm.
really actually protected you for certain things. And so now it's kind of like, it's kind of like showing up to a battle and it being like, okay, we're gonna do kung fu. And you got that gun in your backpack. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
but we don't even have to do this. I can make
Mhm.
this end real quick.
Mhm.
And I feel like that can be the hard part too, is recognizing like, yo, again, talking about a situation I had to handle in April. When I was talking about that resentment, like the resentment was for me, it was like, oh, me wouldn't even have let shit get this far.
Mhm.
Oh, me would have even been in this situation because oh,
Mhm.
me would have dead a long time ago. But new healing me, it's like, give people chances. Let people explain. Use communication. Don't block and ghost and disappear on people. That's not nice, apparently. So I think it can also be that part as well when we're talking about that resentment of like, dang, yeah, I'm happy about how I handled that, but like, oh me, have a whole story to tell.
Mhm. It's also like the difference between that kind of instant gratification versus maybe something a little
Hmm.
bit more delayed.
Yeah.
But also when we know like there's usually some consequence anyway to to the more the behavior we're trying to change. That's why we're trying to change it, right?
Mm.
But initially, like you said, like there's a point where it works for you in a
Yeah.
way, like you got what you needed at that time. And if what you felt you needed was to, let's say, hurt a person back because you felt hurt by them, then at the time, just like really going for that gut punch, like, and then you bald headed mama or whatever that
Yeah.
taking that driving that thing a little bit deeper just to get that and, got them and like, yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
In the moment, it's like, yeah, I did that. Now I know. But there's some consequence to that, whatever that is. But
Mhm.
especially if you've identified that you don't want to be that person anymore, then
Yeah.
that icky feeling, it shows up later on. So
Mhm.
even when we take a different route and it's a little uncomfortable, but like you say, can still feel some pride and like, I mean, I guess I did the right thing.
Mhm.
But
Just
I think
annoyed by your health, annoyed by
yeah,
your emotional health.
right. But the same way that behavior you're trying to change came with something probably negative that you're trying to get rid of, something
Yeah.
good is gonna come from from trying it this new, better, healthier way,
Yeah.
even though it's not immediate. And I think that's shown up a healing thing too.
Yeah. I mean, again, even when I talk about some of the things have resentment for, I totally acknowledge, though, like, if you would have done that, I feel guilty about things now. Like, I have a conscience, and I've always had a conscience, but like, there's certain things, I'm like, there are certain things that, like, I feel like you deserve that. That's
Mhm,
not my responsibility.
mhm,
And now I recognize, like, no, I feel bad when I do have a moment where I kind of go off.
mhm, mhm,
Because you know what? Because you know what? You're grown, Russ. You know you weren't in the mind space. You could have backed away.
mhm,
They might have been able to hear you better if you came with honey instead of vinegar.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And, so, it's still that, you do get a gratification. It's not instant, but
mhm,
later, you can have that like guilt and resentment when you are still in that active healing. So it's
mhm,
not to say that resentment is the only feeling you get and then you just sit there in it. No, because if you would have done the thing again, sometimes it's guilt, sometimes it's regret and things like that.
I wanna give a couple other examples of because so these are like because we're like things where it's like, ooh, reaction harsh, or like I talked about like spiraling for stuff. But also it could be other things like I'll say one thing, I call it like not having to pull at every thread. So I
Mhm.
know in terms of I'm apply because I know for me, some of it applied to a lot of things, but I say even with dating. Where it was like, "Ooh, the opportunities here. Here's a person that I find somewhat attractive, a little bit interested in. I don't know what," those types of things, which
Mhm.
of course there's nothing wrong with like following a curiosity. But at some point, you don't need to follow this lead any further, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. Or maybe you're going through a self journey that is leading towards like some celibacy or some time, whatever that might look like. And maybe your old habit is, yeah, I jump out on that date, or yeah, I, respond to that late night text, or yeah, I
Mhm.
and
Or
maybe
I'm
that
lonely and I know this is the option.
right, right. I'm answering that call. I know damn well I shouldn't. Those types of things. That can be a thing too. That like, okay, you're in the process of healing. And maybe there is a time where, yeah, you might respond to something you like, damn, why I hadn't told this man he'd come over here. Not
Mhm.
what I'm trying to do. But even then, also in those instances, I just would put out there, you can change the circumstance at any point in time.
Mhm.
If you sent that message and then you realize, like, almost immediately, probably, like, I don't know, you can send another one and say, "You
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to bed," and not follow up on it. But it can even be something like that, like, your interactions with certain types of people when you're trying to change things around that. It could be whew, we can have so many triggers. I was like, shook 'cause I'm thinking about, I know for me, when I start going into defensive mode and start feeling too independent, I get
Mhm.
an attitude. I didn't realize
We
this
okay.
with my partner because we
Yeah,
have 2
yeah.
partners. So if I feel like I'm doing too much by myself, I literally like I don't he slept late the other day and it pissed me off. But
And
it's because of the baby. It's like, "Duh, duh, duh,
yeah,
duh, do all this stuff, take care of it," which is fine. Like I do it all the time. It's not a
yeah,
thing, but it's just
yeah,
like it's the weekend. You're here. We
yeah,
supposed to be. And so I was in a mode because that
yeah,
is my protective mode, right? Like
yeah.
I'm aggressively cleaning things. I'm aggressively doing everything by myself now. Even though like he woke up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "We're leaving." Because we were
Mhm.
leaving the house and I was getting the baby. He's like, do you need something? Do we need to go somewhere?" And I was like, "We're getting out of the house. I don't care." And um anyway, it boiled down to as I was like simmering down because I'm realizing I'm like the man was just trying to sleep late. What are you actually upset about, Ashley? And ended up telling him, I was like, "I'm sorry. I feel like when I start doing too many things by myself, I get a little, I
Mhm.
get an attitude." Because also that's a mode that's like a protective. It's really me building up a barrier. I don't need your help with nothing. I can do everything by myself. Why don't you just sleep? Sleep your whole life away if that's what you want to do. Anywho, so being triggered in that boiled it down to figuring out, okay, what is your actual problem? And like, can you communicate that? And beyond that, can you apologize because you were really doing a lot
Yeah,
and he did not deserve it. But I'm just throwing it out there as another example, like things that can kind of trigger to put us in a survival state.
yeah.
And sometimes different things can trigger that survival state, and you may not even realize it. Like, I know last year I had a moment where I realized money, when we start talking about big money moves,
Mhm,
it put me in a survival mode. Like,
mhm,
I would get an attitude.
mhm.
Just the idea, somebody call and be like, "Hey, you owe this many dollars." I'm like, "The fuck?" Not only is my week is ruined, everything is ruined now that this conversation has been brought up in large amounts of money. And it puts me in this weird survival state where even when my partner's like, "Hey, I can help out with that." I'm like, "No, because I can do it myself because I do everything myself and I pay all my bills by myself." And he's like, "Girl." Anyway.
Okay.
So many things, girl. But anywho, becoming less triggered. Yeah, less responsive and remembering to circle back and communicate with my partner
Yeah.
about what was going on. That's a part of healing because that can be hard to do, especially as someone who spent majority of their adult life by themselves.
Mhm,
Um, Having to tell another person what's going on with me
mhm.
instead of just, that's a moment I
Handling it.
had and I moved on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, "Oh, there's another person that is kind of infected." When I snapped at them for no reason, let me go back and
Yeah.
try to talk.
Yeah, you're right, you're right. But going back to that, I think when
Anyway.
you had spent most of your adulthood very independent, even if it's not single, but very independent,
Mhm.
it is hard to recognize that, hey, some of that might be a problem because now you're in a relationship. And one of the things I like that you said, though, I think one of the important things to take from recognizing you have a moment is to give yourself a second and going like, okay, what's really the problem? Because a lot of times when you're being triggered, the way you're acting is a symptom. It is not the problem.
Mhm.
And so it's like, dang, why haven't I healed this? Why haven't I was like, did you really sit and digest? This is what the actual problem is. It's not that, yes, you need to stop going off on folks, cussing folks out, but like, why do you get so hyped? Oh, because you felt like you were never heard in your childhood. And so when you got older, you start, nah, y'all gonna hear me. That ain't what you're not about to do. You gotta start, after you have that moment and you recognize, oh, I need to heal. Okay, but now what is the actual root cause? Not just let me stop this symptom.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think one of the reason why like this stage hurts so much
Mhm.
is because like it feels like I have the language,
Mhm.
but I don't have the mastery. And in that same tone, it's like I can name my wound. I can probably even name theirs, but that doesn't mean like I know what to do in real time.
Mhm.
And this is something I say to like clients all the time,
Mhm.
which is like, baby, this is theory until you step out of this office. All we
Mhm.
doing is theory.
Mhm.
And theory, think about it like you being in school. Theory is good for writing papers, but it works a little different in the real world.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to be prepared for that. And so, even though you're like, oh, but I know this is avoidant, attachment style, da 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 da, and I am, yes, you know all those languages. Okay, but wow, what happens when, okay, you're dating this person, it's going good, and they do something that kind of feels like a little shaky. Maybe their communication this week was a little bit off, and it's like, okay, I am going to ghost them. And go about my life. They're going to be blocked on everything because obviously they don't love me because they only text me twice today. It is hard to recognize it in real time when it's happening. You can have all that language you want. You still need to give yourself time to practice it.
Mhm.
And usually, especially that first time out, because I've worked with a lot of people where we're working on a thing and it's not something they're dealing with right now. So I'll use relationships, for example. Um, where people are coming in, they want to work on their relationships, they want to work on better communication, they want to work on their anger, they want to work on not being anxious or not being avoidant, all this stuff. And we'll do all this work. And they're usually doing it when they're single. And then
Mm.
what happens is that I'm ready to date. And they go out there, and that first time they start dating, they're like, oh, I did everything I used to do
Mm.
immediately. I
Mm.
communicated good for all of 2 weeks. And then I immediately started becoming anxiously attached. And it's like, did I really heal? Did I? Baby, that's okay. That's because it was just me and you talking about it.
Yeah.
Now you got to
Yeah.
practice it. And it's going to take
Yeah.
time to get that practice in.
Right. I'm listening and I'm like, but this is why, like, a part I think too of healing is like learning how to be vulnerable and ask for grace. And like a
Mhm.
part of being vulnerable is recognizing you're gonna mess stuff up and people are gonna have to see that you messed up.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have to just like come back, come back. Like, I know, man, yeah. 'Cause I'm thinking about, like, I know I had a lot of things that I was like, yeah, that I wanted to not do or not carry into my relationship. And when we first got together, I called those things out. Like, while I was in the beginning stages, before anything had happened, like, "Hey, here are a couple of things that I'm working on."
Here are my orange flags.
Yeah, like, "Should you see these things, please don't run. Please talk to me because I am working on them, and I don't want to sabotage this just because, like, I'm not there yet, I may not be
Yeah.
there yet. Like, this is something I'm trying, and just, like, let me know because and give me a chance to fix it
Yeah.
because I promise I want this, like, just let me. And at the time, he was like, "This is a very strange conversation." 'Cause that's very emotional too. He was just like,
Yeah.
"This is a lot, but I'm gonna take it as you really like me, so, like,
Mhm.
yes." But those times did come where, like,
Yeah.
he called that shit out, and I appreciate it, and it hurt my little feelings. I was like, "Damn, I did it. Thought I was better than that."
Yeah.
But I'm
By the
taking
way,
it.
I love this. Like, you got me thinking, like, do I need to make laminated cards? Like, damn, I like you. Hey, so you can take this. It's laminated. You can get water and drinks on its fine. It's perfect.
Well, the goal is for the things to not always be there, but it's a good place to start. Let me put it out there because I want you. And I mean, the type of person I was looking for would respond well to that. You
Yeah.
know, somebody who could see for what it was. Like, okay, I see you working on something. You know,
Mm.
who could handle that conversation and
Yeah.
that person. So yeah, because like I said, the moment can't. I mean, it happened.
Mhm.
It pops up here and there in other ways, but yeah, the things have happened, and thankfully, you know, when he called him out, I could sit there and be like, "Damn, I'm wrong." You know, like,
Yeah.
damn, I did it. Because that feeling of being called out, it don't feel good. It's uncomfortable for
Yeah.
everybody. And
Yeah.
like, but learning how to work through that feeling, I think is
Mhm.
so important because it's just gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're gonna be wrong.
Yes.
Sometimes you're gonna be embarrassed or whatever, or just feel very vulnerable in that
Mhm.
moment. But like you gotta get to the other side, you're gonna be okay. And even taking the time, even if it takes you a day, like even if you need to be like, I need to process a lot. I need to
Yeah.
process this. And I will come back and I will have a more refined version for you. Okay. Holler at you later. Then like do that.
No, I agree. Again, because again, the whole thing is, again, you might know the language, you still have to
Mhm,
practice it to master it.
mhm,
And practice takes time. Some of us, we get out there that first time, we got it. There's gonna be some situations you like, I recognize what this is. This is my trigger. I'm
mm,
gonna but there's gonna be lots of things that, yeah, 2 years later, it's still gonna be like, okay, all right, let me reel it in. Let me
mhm,
let me work through that. Um, and like Ashley said, I think a part of getting to that mastery, you have to also master giving yourself grace.
mhm. Mhm. That's a good point. Mm. You need to you need to remember that you're not toxic. You're just tired.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, you're just in the thick of it. Maybe this is a new thing that you're going through. The more you grow, it is true that the more people are going to expect you to have it together. They may not even maybe they don't see your growth, but maybe they do. And maybe they're holding you to a high expectation. And you're like, y'all don't know I'm a crash
Mm.
out. They don't know that there may be some areas that you're still working on, but you know that, and that's okay. And again, it does not negate all of the work that you've done thus far, even if you do have, I wouldn't even say a setback, even if you have a moment or a setback. Yeah.
So let's talk about signs that you're like actually in this stage.
Mhm.
I think like one of the ones that like pop up for me is like, okay, so like now I'm in a stage where like, no, I'm not ghosting people out of pettiness. But like again, I'm a person that likes a lot of isolation.
Mhm.
And so, but it's like, okay, but like but are you low-key ghosted because you're overstimulated and you don't trust yourself to speak gently? And it's like, yeah. So there's still some healing in that because I know I'm a go over now. And so let me stop. Let me pull myself back. That's some healing. But also, at what point is it also, I like to isolate and I need to be by myself, and because that's the only way I know how to regulate.
Mhm.
It's a little bit of healing, but it's still like, okay, yes, my reason is different. The way I do it is different, but it's still there.
Mhm. So some other signs that you're in this stage could be, to me, when I think of signs, it's kind of like that you may still have moments here and there, or you may still have like pain points. There may still be things that come through for you, but you recognize them a lot sooner. You're not completely blind to what's going on with you. Even if you didn't love the way that you responded, or you're not sure how to respond yet, you still recognize that, okay, this is a thing for me, or this is a trigger for me.
Yeah. And I think another one of those signs is recognizing like there are certain situations that you just now completely avoid. And because again, that I don't trust myself to practice it in this area. I know what to do. I don't know if I trust myself to actually do it.
Mhm,
And I do want to say with this one, sometimes this can be healthy. There are certain situations where I feel like you just might not be able to handle that anymore. If I
mhm,
struggle with addiction, I just need to not go around those old people I used to use with it.
Yeah.
It's not about, well, I'm gonna come in, I must tell them about my boundaries. They can't smoke around me, and we're gonna go jogging now. Studies have shown you do better if you just change your people, person, places.
Mhm.
So there is times that like avoidance is the only way
Mhm.
for you to maintain your growth here. But there are other times where it is a matter of, again, us not really trusting ourselves to do the right thing and being too scared to even try to practice it.
Mhm.
I would think of one of the examples I see a lot with this one is like people who are struggling with like how they show up in relationships. And so they just give up on love.
Mhm.
I'll have friends, I'll travel, I whatever, whatever, because I got fire setting tendencies and I just don't know if that's gonna happen this time. And so I'm just going to be by myself.
Mhm.
There's gonna be certain situations where it's like, okay, yes, that's an option. But like you can also give yourself a chance to like, okay, but let's tiptoe this. Let's
Mhm.
keep our triggers aware. And when we start feeling that thing, hey, how can I take a break and step back for a second?
Mhm. Another sign could be that where you're still in that middle stage is maybe you've learned how to set a boundary, but you don't feel good about it.
Hmm.
And that can happen too. I mean, there's always going to be something that comes with it, but maybe you feel guilt about it. Maybe you still feel unsure if you should or deserve to have set that boundary or told someone no, or maybe you feel a little bit of imposter syndrome when you set that boundary. It's like, who am I to
Hmm.
do to tell someone no or whatever that boundary was for you.
Yeah.
Um, but on the flip side of it, you know, some signs that you're moving in the right direction, I would say you would be when you feel like kind of proud of yourself when you
Hmm.
exercise those coping skills or when
Yeah.
you make a different decision.
Yeah. And while we are in this stage, I feel like it's important to bring up like for most of us, you probably end up going through a little season of feeling lonely, of
Mm,
feeling like a little disconnected, especially if a lot of your healing had to do with your environment, had to do with the people you were around. And so now that you change, those people don't really want to be around you no more. You feel awkward in those type of environments now. And that just goes back to, like, not tolerating things that gave you, like, shallow connections. Recognizing that, "Hey, but this behavior that I have always puts me in a place that is so far outside of who I want my character to be, of what I say my moral code is." And so I can't do that anymore. And I always like to let people know, like, hey, that's probably for most of us going to be a part of the process because I think that is also a part when especially when you're in that middle. But I haven't completely got there. And now it's like, but am I doing it wrong? Because, nobody really messing with me like that no more. And I feel kind of lonely. At least when I was wild and out, I had people with me. I mean, we couldn't drink together because shit would happen, but at least I had that. That's a part of the process.
mhm. Mhm. And sometimes a very necessary part, like, sometimes we need space because, like you said, things being in theory and in practice, like, you need space to just kinda
Mhm,
practice, regulate in that space.
mhm,
I feel like if you have difficulty regulating on your own, you will have difficulty regulating around others. And that time alone also helps you just figure out just get in tune, just to get in tune with yourself of like, how do I feel when I'm just safe and comfortable and by myself?
yeah,
What's that like? How do I feel when it's disturbed? Oh wow. Like, do you recognize like, oh, I came into this environment and
mhm,
that calm that I had over there is gone. Something
mhm.
not right over here. I need to figure this out. Um, but yeah, let's talk about
Can
some
I
back.
just say quickly on that though? As you were saying that, it reminded me of a friend who like spent the block with somebody
Mm,
after they were like did a lot of work on themselves. And like to them, it was like, but this was the love of my life. And now that I'm healthy, this should work. And they didn't do no work on themselves. And, like, for
Mhm.
her, it was just like, it feels off. Like, he's still him, though. And she's like, "But if for some reason it's not feeling right." And I was like, "Right, because 'cause you're no longer crazy. Y'all was crazy as fuck together."
Right. Yep.
But, like, now that you're healed, kinda like you said, again, just, "Oh, why don't I feel peace here?
Mhm.
I showed
Yeah.
up, and it's the same people, they doing the same things." Recognizing that. Being in tune with your body.
Healing will definitely show you that you don't always want what you think you want.
Mhm.
You don't always need what you think you want. I mean, I feel like we know that, we hear it and but like
Mhm.
you really, because also when you get what you actually want, it's like,
Mhm.
wow, I
Or
didn't
what's
know
good for
that.
you.
Yeah, when you actually get what's good for you, right.
Mm,
It's like, I didn't know it could come like this, or it could look like this, or it
yeah.
could I couldn't have even dreamed up this scenario. I was
Yeah.
over here, I thought I wanted that. That's crazy.
Oh, we don't have to give examples. We don't have to go into we don't have to walk down memory lane. It's
So many things in general. It's just like you really, I mean, it's funny to me the moments in life that I have where I can reflect on that and be like, you really thought that.
thing.
But I could have never guessed that, and it all came out real damn good. So, yeah, but healing, and going through stuff would definitely teach you that, like, you don't want, like you say, even when people spin the block and circle back, and it's like, is it? Wait a minute,
Yeah.
what's different here? What's changed? Is it me or is it you?
Why
You
does
doing
the
the same
memory
thing.
feel better than the reality of you now?
Whew, whew. Them rose-colored glasses.
Look.
Oh man, yeah. But what what are some ways that people can navigate through this season?
Kinda like we said, practicing that grace as if it is an actual skill set. Reminding yourself, like, "I am still learning." Reminding yourself, "I am still learning. This is still new for me. I can try it again." Giving yourself a lot of that grace. Also, I believe getting a community that speaks your language is so important. I think one of the biggest things with healing is making sure that you have a community that supports healing and growth. Um, and I've seen this many, many times of like people healing and they try to go back to their same community, and sometimes it works. Sometimes when I was healing, I got the same one as y'all. Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
still the same people. But for some people, it is it's because my healing had to do with me, not y'all. I think that's
Mhm.
also a part of it. Y'all was not the problem. But I think for some people, though, it is like, okay, but you guys bonded over very toxic things. And
Mhm.
so now it's just you constantly show coming up and just, to them, you looking like Mr. Rogers with your like little sweater. Like, well, hey, girl, actually, I think you should communicate. I think
Mhm.
you should use assertive language. Start with your I statements. I feel. How do you reflect back the question to them? All right, girl, go out here with that bullshit. You have to get a community that also speaks your language. And sometimes that means getting a new community. And sometimes that means the community that you're used to, you're going to feel like a stranger in.
Mhm. Mhm.
What are some other ones?
Other ways to navigate would be count your wins. Like count those moments
Mhm.
where that thing you used to do didn't happen, where you responded better, where you feel good.
Yeah.
Keep track of those things. Like you spent time keeping track of those negative things. It's time to start focusing on some of those positive and some of those wins.
Mhm.
Another thing would be to remember that your triggers are there. You can choose to see your triggers as lessons.
Mhm.
They're not character flaws. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. You do not have to be triggerless in
Mhm.
order to be worthy of love or just to be worthy. Um, they're there to show you something. Like and when you pause and take the time, like this is how you get to the other side of that healing journey is by
Mhm.
pausing and taking the time to explore those triggers.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? What was it? What triggered it? what's
Mhm.
behind this feeling that I'm even feeling? Like, am I for real mad or am I hurt? Am I disappointed? Disappointment get us a lot. Am I disappointed?
Mhm.
Did I have the right expectations?
Yeah.
Um, Whatever those things are, when you take the time to really investigate, and solve from there and
Yeah.
just see it as an invitation to learn more about yourself and to dig deeper.
Yeah. And lastly, I would say definitely make sure you don't let your self-awareness become your new cage. And y'all have heard me say this on several episodes. Sometimes healing is background music. Sometimes, like, it's there, I can hear it, but I'm still able to live. I'm still able to do other things. I'm still able to do the laundry. I'm still able. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes when we're healing, especially when we see changes, we can become that person that is just like, oh, I got a podcast for this. I read this new article. There's this new thing
Oh,
on YouTube. I'm going to send you the message. Let me tell you about this new book. I'm going to quote over the book's
I have a
quotations.
friend like
No
that.
one can have a regular conversation with you no more.
Man.
Don't let your self-awareness become a new cage. It's great that you're learning things. It's great. And of course, we want to share it with people, but don't make that your identity because that usually leads to burnout
Mhm.
because it kind of promotes this idea that you're here to be perfect and you're still growing. And so when you let that be now your new identity and you're so super hyper aware of yourself and how you're interacting, there's going to be a moment where you feel like an imposter. There's gonna be a moment where you realize, like, "Oh, I didn't do the thing, and I done read 4 books on it." And again, it just becomes like a new cage that you're confining yourself to.
Mhm.
Now, with that said, essentially what we're saying, guys, is like, remember that you are not failing, you are not broken, you are just becoming, and becoming is very messy work.
Say that.
So with that said, that is all of our episode. We will have a new one for you next Sunday. Leave a review wherever you are listening, share, like, and you hear from us again next week. Bye.
Man.